to come to terms with the horrors of the crimes committed in their name. No one can now say, "I didn't know."
We invite Charity Kondili to the stand, please.
Thousands of cases will never get justice in a court of law. Mrs. Charity Kondili does not want reconciliation. She wants the kidnappers and murderers of her son, Sizwe, to stand trial. And this is one of the self-confessed murderers, Dirk Coetzee, formerly of the South African Security Police.
For 9 years, we didn't know what had happened to Sizwe. It was such a tough time for the family. It was really haunting. You know, it's very difficult to accept a situation where you don't know what happened to a child. So when we eventually knew what had happened to him, I think we were relieved, though we were very much sad.
One of Major Archie Flemington's men, a sergeant or a warrant, a slender-built, tallish man, light hair, took a Makarov pistol with a silencer on, and whilst he was lying, Mr. Kondili was lying on his back, shot him on top of the head. There was a short jerk, and that was it.
Well, Dirk Coetzee further goes on to say that when he died, they put his body on a pile of wood with a tire and near the Komati-Port River at night, where it took them 9 hours to burn his body. And Dirk Coetzee further says that whilst they were burning his body, the flesh was smelling good, and they were having beers at that time. So it was like a bride to them, according to Dirk Coetzee. And as a mother, I feel that no matter whether it was politics fighting for the land, no matter who, I don't think he deserved all that treatment. I feel it was grossly inhuman. I feel if they could have killed him and gave us the body or left it in the field there, I feel that this was tantamount to cannibalism or even satanism.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once.
This is a popular TV show called People of the South. Its celebrity guest is Dirk Coetzee, introduced by the host as the Honourable Assassin.
The Honourable Assassin, Dirk Coetzee. So, Dirk, welcome to People of the South.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the honor of being on your show. I appreciate it.
Our honor entirely. What would you say, as a young man, if anything, pointed you towards the direction of the police force? Was it as a young man that you thought, I want to be a copper?
I want to be a copper. Adventure, usually adventure that turns one to...
An adventurous life indeed. Coetzee is asking for amnesty for his part in the murder of 6 people.
In a way, in the old regime.
I feel that if the Truth Commission is going to recommend amnesty for the murderers and people who violated human rights, if those murderers could be punished somehow, that would be justice as far as I'm concerned.
In other words, come before a court of law.
Yes, and be sentenced.
They're looking at what one individual did to another individual. But apartheid was not about what one individual did to another individual. It's what about a whole system did to a whole nation of people. And that has not been put on trial at the Truth Commission. So therefore, you can't reconcile the nation when you haven't actually even looked at what happened and why it happened. There's been no real examination of why apartheid happened and how it could happen, how you could get that whole system maintained by basically ordinary people.
Your reconciliation has been at the heart of your policies. Do you sometimes reflect on the fact that there really isn't a single leading figure in the old power structure, the military, business, and others, that have shown really any public remorse for what happened during the apartheid regime?
I think that is going too far. You have the Dutch Reformed Church, which was publicly commended by Archbishop Tutu that apologized for apartheid. You have individuals like Leon Wessels, Rolf Meyer, who were members of the cabinet, who have apologized generally. What, of course, the public wants is that somebody must be able to say, we authorized people, our men, to kill so-and-so. That is not forthcoming, but the general apology has been made. I think that it's a great deal of concern that people like de Klerk have tried to avoid the responsibility. I think it's a great deal, it's a tragedy. And once, of course, he took that line, many of his colleagues, you see, also took that line.
Not one military general has applied for amnesty, and not a single judge has come forward. Yet it was the judiciary that gave apartheid a veneer of respectability. Today, many of the same judges are administering the law in the new South Africa.
Reconciliation is not going to a Truth and Reconciliation Commission and publicly apologizing for your sins. It's actually the government introducing measures which will redistribute wealth from those who benefited under apartheid to those who suffered under apartheid. Now that to us would have been what true conciliation is all about. And the failure to do that, I think, has made the whole reconciliation process a bit of a farce.
This is Sandton Municipality in Johannesburg. Here, in fortified splendor, live some of the richest people in the world. Representing 5% of the population, they and the rest of white South Africa control 88% of the national wealth. And yet they, not the majority, are the material beneficiaries of democracy. No longer international pariahs, they can now travel and play sport and do business wherever in the world they like, secure in the delusion that they gave freedom to the majority. They've been asked to give up nothing, not even a modest wealth tax. Crime is the issue behind the razor wire and the alarm systems, not the great crime of apartheid that destroyed millions of lives and stole the nation's wealth. There is a lot of property crime, but it's also the code for the encroachment of the unemployed across the old dividing lines between black and white. What is remarkable is the degree of restraint exercised by the impoverished majority, given the continuing display of wealth by a minority and the adaptation of many of the injustices of the past. This is Alexandra, literally across the road from wealthy Sandton, a community of 500,000 people squeezed into an area of less than a square mile and a half, where the majority have no jobs and up to 15 families live in one slum. And although they drive past it, many whites hardly know it exists.